Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. And today is not really kind of a review, it's more of an informational video for you guys. What actually happened was a guy at our last Cool Stuff meeting up in Hollywood asked if I would do a Memoir 44 buying guide. Now, I've videoed the mess out of Memoir 44. There's a lot of videos that I've done for Memoir 44, so you can go check all those out. And I've tried to be as comprehensive as I can with that game. Is one of my favorite games of all time. But I've never actually done a buying guide, as it were, because quite frankly, I think that you need to, I guess, simply just make your own decision on what you should and should not buy. But I'll go ahead and weigh in because, quite frankly, a fella asked me for it, and I thought it would be useful after a little bit of delineation about it. So here goes. Now, the first thing that you actually need to take into account is what part of that whole genre are you more interested in, because there are different theaters to think about. There's a Pacific theater and there's also a European theater, basically, generally speaking. Within the European theater, I'm throwing in the Mediterranean theater. So you have those two sides of the world where this conflict was taking place. So you have to kind of ask yourself, what are you more interested in? Are you more interested in the battling that was going on in the Pacific, or are you more interested in what the battling that was going on in the European continent and the North African continents? So that's the first question you got to go through. If Pacific theater is your action, then it's kind of a no-brainer. The terrain pack and the Pacific theater are probably where you need to go first. It'll give you the most bang for your buck out of your one base set that I'm assuming you've already purchased. That's kind of a given. If you're going to get in with Memoir, you need to buy at least a base set. So I'm assuming that you have at least one base set to go from. What the terrain pack in the Pacific realm, Pacific theater expansion will do is it'll give you, first of all, brand new army with the Japanese army, and then you'll also have other kinds of troops for the U.S. troops. You'll have Marines, and you'll go into all of that kind of stuff as well. The terrain pack basically gives you more scenarios that you'll be able to play through, and it gives you a whole mess of terrain tiles. So you probably won't need to worry about not having the correct terrain after having bought the terrain pack. So there's a lot of good positives about going with the Pacific theater, because first of all, if you want the aesthetics to be there, you don't need to buy another board. The board that comes in the base set is all you will need to get your full use out of the Pacific Theater expansion. So if Pacific Theater is the way that you're interested, that's easy. Terrain pack, Pacific Theater, slam dunk. But if the European theater is more of your style, then there are more options available to you, and a little bit more thought needs to be put into it. What I would probably go with first is the Winter Desert board expansion that came out. It has it's a two-sided board that has a winter landscape on one, and on the other side it has a desert landscape. And the reason I say that is because if you go with the Eastern Front or the Mediterranean Theater, you'll need one of those two different sides to get the full aesthetic feel. Yeah, you could put winter terrain on a otherwise green board. That always bugged me though, and if it bugs you, then you're going to want to buy that Winter Desert board. So I'd go that route, definitely. And then if you were more interested in the Northern African theater and the battles that went on there, Commonwealth troops, having a little bit of the Italians in there as well, then you'll want to go with the Mediterranean theater. But if you're more interested in more centralized, I guess you could say, the European conflict battles there, entering in the Russian troops as well, you'll want to go with the Eastern Front expansion. Now, they're kind of give and take here, because they all kind of meld together a little bit. So take your time with it. If you want to go with, if you're, maybe you're leaning towards you want more Commonwealth troops, go with the Mediterranean theater first. Maybe you want the Russian troops, go with the Eastern Front first. But I think either one of those two theater expansions, you'll want to get the Winter Desert board map at the very least. Then, on top of that, you also have a Winter Wars expansion that came out a little bit after all these other guys did. So there's more scenarios, more winter terrain, all of that kind of stuff in the Winter Wars pack scenario. So there's that. Now, at that point, you'll want to reassess. Do I have everything that I want, or do I want to go further down the rabbit hole? And if you want to go further down the rabbit hole, if you have not yet already done so, you might want to think about purchasing a second core set of Memoir 44. And the reason I say that is because after you've bought the Winter Wars, the Mediterranean Theater, Eastern Front, and the Pacific Theater, if you've already bought all those, really the next step is the Overlord expansions. And for a lot of those scenarios, you'll need 2 base boards. There are a number of different battle maps that were put out. There was Tigers in the Snow, Hedgerow Hell. There was also Disaster at Dieppe and the Sword of Stalingrad. I probably mispronounced some of those words in there, but sound them out. You should be able to find them. Those battle maps are Overlord-sized battle maps, and so you won't need 2 base sets or 2 base boards in that if you buy those battle map series. But for any of the other ones, you'll probably need them, the 2 base boards. So you'll probably need to do some introspective digging there and see if you really want to buy that second set. If you do buy the second set, the only real thing that you'll need out of the Operation Overlord pack are the cards that are a huge, cool thing that come in that, but the counters that come in it won't be necessary because you'll have most, if not all, of the troops that you'll need for any of those Overlord scenarios. So there's that. If you want to continue going further, the equipment pack is definitely out there. And then those battle map series that I mentioned are definitely things that you should look at. The equipment pack is a really cool thing, definitely a luxury, because most of the things that come in the equipment pack are plastic models that represent tokens that have come in other sets. So the equipment pack is there kind of towards the tail end because it is definitely a luxury item. It's not necessary, however, none of this is really necessary, so take that into account. So that's kind of my ideas on what you should not buy and when you should and should not buy it. Again, that along with about 25 cents might get you a cup of coffee somewhere, so it's really not worth much. It's just kind of my thoughts on the issue. Take it for what it's worth, but hopefully you have been enjoying and will continue to enjoy Memoir 44 as much as I have. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.